This tutorial is prepared using Natural Resources Canada site. The electromagnetic spectrum. The electromagnetic spectrum ranges from the shorter wavelengths, including gamma and X-rays, to the longer wavelengths, including microwaves and broadcast radio waves. There are several regions of the electromagnetic spectrum which are useful for remote sensing. For most purposes, the ultraviolet or UV portion of the spectrum has the shortest wavelengths which are practical for remote sensing. This radiation is just beyond the violet portion of the visible wavelengths, hence its name. Some Earth surface materials, primarily rocks and minerals, fluoresce or emit visible light when illuminated by UV radiation. Visible spectrum. The light which our eyes, our remote sensors, can detect is part of the visible spectrum. It is important to recognize how small the visible portion is relative to the rest of the spectrum. There is a lot of radiation around us which is invisible to our eyes, but can be detected by other remote sensing instruments and used to our advantage. The visible wavelengths cover a range from approximately 0.4 to 0.7 m. The longest visible wavelength is red and the shortest is violet. Common wavelengths of what we perceive as particular colors from the visible portion of the spectrum are listed below. It is important to note that this is the only portion of the spectrum we can associate with the concept of colors. Violet, 0.4 to 0.446 micrometer. Blue, 0.446 to 0.500 micrometer. Green, 0.500 to 0.578 micrometer. Yellow, 0.578 to 0.592 micrometer. Orange, 0.592 to 0.620 micrometer. Red, 0.620 to 0.7 micrometer. Infrared, IR, region. The next portion of the spectrum of interest is the infrared, IR, region, which covers the wavelength range from approximately 0.7 micrometer to 100 micrometer, more than 100 times as wide as the visible portion. The infrared region can be divided into two categories based on their radiation properties: the reflected IR, and the emitted or thermal IR. Radiation in the reflected IR region is used for remote sensing purposes in ways very similar to radiation in the visible portion. The reflected IR covers wavelengths from approximately 0.7 m to 3.0 m. The thermal IR region is quite different than the visible and reflected IR portions, as this energy is essentially the radiation that is emitted from the Earth's surface in the form of heat. The thermal IR covers wavelengths from approximately 3.0 m to 100 m. Microwave region. The portion of the spectrum of more recent interest to remote sensing is the microwave region from about 1 mm to 1 m. This covers the longest wavelengths used for remote sensing. The shorter wavelengths have properties similar to the thermal infrared region, while the longer wavelengths approach the wavelengths used for radio broadcasts. Because of the special nature of this region and its importance to remote sensing in Canada, an entire chapter, Chapter 3, of the tutorial is dedicated to microwave sensing.